All right, we're on to another adventure. This one is about the VW Trike episode. I built two Trikes for the TV show. One was the purple one, the Honda Goldwing powered thing, really radical, and then this silver one, the VW Trike. Not enough credit can be given to my friend Kai, rest in peace. He's in this episode, and really just for the sport of it, nothing to gain except my friendship. He's helped me out. So this is kind of staged in his yard like it was his project. None of that is true, fortunately for Kai. He's a motorcycle dude. Although he does drive a Harley Trike in the end. You'll see how we get into this building of the story. As usual, I cut out a lot on this episode because the build was well documented, but there was a lot of fluff. The swap meet, the scavenging of parts, etc. So that being said, in typical fashion, I'm gonna let this slideshow roll, and we'll get into a talk over of it. Here we go. All right, as usual, the story begins meeting Kai at his house. Cool cat, not enough can be said for him, as I mentioned. This trike I bought Central California. I bought it from a young dude. Didn't have the whatever it takes to put it together. You can see it's really rough. So we stashed it in Kai's backyard for the shots. Kai's had it laying back there all these years, right? Look here, he's surprised. Look, he's actually surprised to look in the box and see what we're doing on this thing. Pretty interesting. He's like, oh, what's in there? It's his stuff, right? Okay, that being said, I get it back to the shop. The inspector is ready. Look how hard it is for me to lift this thing. Crazy heavy chassis because it was full of lead. I guess to keep the front end down, whoever built it had filled the entire head tube with molten lead. Now I'm getting into just cutting the body. I didn't like the big fenders on it. A lot of people have commented otherwise. If it was an everyday driver, travel rig, etc., yeah, that's why they built the body like that, to protect you from, flying water and debris. So there's that. But look, here's the lead coming out while I was cutting it. So heavy duty, probably worked pretty good, but it was bent. This thing was crashed. I edited out where I do the measuring up and checking out of the thing. And then the body was way too short for me. So that's what I'm getting into now, the stretch of the fiberglass body. And I'm gonna build a whole chassis under it because the old one was bent. I'm just gonna use the torsion housing from the VW Bug. It had already been capped off. You can see it's a swing axle in the back there. And then, get on with it. This fella, so cool, totally into trikes. Don't know him from nobody. He says, oh man, I love your show. Come on down, check out what I'm up to. Lived in Fraser Park, he knew Ed Roth. He was into the whole trike scene like his whole life. So he had a lot of awesome projects that we really didn't get into. But gave me a tip off in a lot of directions about how you want to set up your trike to drive. So I took his advice on the rake and on the general setup of the thing. The foot controls we'll get into, etc. But making the chassis out of this 1.5" eighth wall tube roll cage stuff. And I did get some parts from him, but the swap meet thing was like real. It was super cool to just be able to go to the swap meet, fistful of cash. It sold some projects, and this is real. Like, I went to the swap meet, got an engine, tires, rims, and a few other doohickeys. It was just a good day at Pomona. Highly recommend. Here's the front fork design. I went with this kind of lower spring setup because firstly, John had those shocks, and secondly, the whole chopper thing, I didn't want like a big springy front end. I wanted something very rigid, just because I've seen these things, how they wheelie. I didn't want to feel out of control. So you see the rake. It was part of what he was talking to me about, that we didn't film. So that's really where it's set up. And Kai steps in to show his approval, being the consummate motorcycle rider. But he was digging it. But again, just doing the favor and acting. Here's the foot control setup. You'll see on the right and the left are the brake and the clutch. And then that rod I'm holding is going to be for the accelerator. So it's a pretty cool setup in how it goes through that tube in the center. You see, it's like a 3-level thing. The inner one, the bearing holder for the, you can have a lot of tension on the clutch and the brake setup. So I made it heavy duty and it totally worked. You see how it operates with the shaft through that outer tube. And yeah, you'll see in the end, we drive the heck out of it. So that's good news. Little controversy in the show was I got a keg from the fella. And then this is a different tank entirely that I got from a scrap yard place. So yeah, that's movie magic, right? Just all of a sudden another tank appeared. Nobody talked about it. But getting into the body, I literally just fiberglassed it back together, finished it off, and that was that. Again, a lot of hours to prep this, but pretty simple in that it's similar to a motorcycle, fabrication-wise. I sprayed the whole TRIKE with this elasti wrap. It's like a rubberized coating. It was just something one of our sponsors was promoting at the time, and I decided to try it out. And easy to apply and very durable, not able to buff it or finish it in any way like you would a paint job. So it's kind of a one-shot deal. And I did it. I taped it off. I put a little simple graphic on it, nothing too fancy. In the end, I armor-alled the finish, and it, again, very durable. I imagine it's lasting a long time because it was applied right, and it is kind of like it wouldn't scratch. It had this, like, I don't know, it felt like a tool handle that's been dipped in rubber coating. It felt exactly like that. So you see, that's how it happened. No spray booth, no nothing. Dude obviously wasn't in the shop while I was spraying, so get that out of your mind. We always kept him well protected, but that was part of the production, right? Gotta bring in the dog, it's all part of it. So you see this graphic, it was just simple to the point, didn't really mean anything to me except to just put some accents on it, but here we go. First ride out the shop, and I knew it was gonna work good. I just familiar with the VW drivetrain, etc. So I chose the slot rims, the spoke in the front, had a couple seats upholstered by Jack, and then popping wheelies. You see how the front end really responds. It doesn't like bow out like you would see in a chopper. So that's where that's at. You see it's looking pretty good. Brooks does great camera work. I mean, he's always super complimenting in the shots he decides. So I drive it up here to Fraser Park and he's stoked. Kai shows up because he's a sport, and another fella on a trike, and we go for a ride. Cold day in the mountains, I'll tell you what, but I mean, Kai was stoked. He's a rider, all the time, year round. So we went out, we drove, we got the shot, and I mean, good day all in all. This was not one of the more challenging builds. I worked straight through it, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. I was glad to sell that and get on down the road to the next project. So as always, any questions about what happened behind the scenes or any technical stuff you see in this, just let me know in the comments. And thanks for checking it out, members.